Hi, I'm Tiffany Ann for Dreamsrecycled Expert Series, and today I'm delighted to have Sarah Schulting-Kranz from, where are you from? Actually, I don't even know where you're from.
Well, I currently live in California, but I'm
Ah,
originally from a very small farming community in the middle of the country, Black, Wisconsin. So,
very cool.
yeah.
Well, welcome. We're excited
Thank
to
you.
have you. Sarah is a coach and a wilderness guide and a soon-to-be author and a documentary maker. So you have a lot of hats going on,
I
Sarah.
do. I
So
do.
welcome. And I'm thrilled that you were willing to share some of your story with us.
Thank
Um,
you.
so how did you become a wilderness guide and a coach? What kind of brought you to that place?
So, when I was coming out of my own divorce, going through my divorce and healing from an awful lot of traumas in my life, the place that I went to was nature. Nature therapy became my own support system, and it became my way of releasing, the toxicity. And when I was healing and doing all of the work, all of the things, I had somebody say to me, you used to be a teacher. You're really good at this. You're amazing at what you're doing. Why don't you become a coach and start guiding others? And so I did, and I love it. It is so much fun. It's my passion. It's my purpose, and it's why I get up in the morning.
Well, and I love that. And I have to say that's so true. One of the things that we tell all our divorcees constantly is get outside. And
Yes.
just so if you don't know me, like I am not an outdoorsy person. I went to Yosemite, I was like one and done. So I'm not outdoorsy. However,
Hilarious.
being inside a house when you're going through any kind of trauma, adversity, loss, divorce, etc., being kind of closed in, I think actually really makes everything worse.
Yes.
You feel like claustrophobic, like you feel like your problems are as big as your house, like you fill up your whole house with your problems. And I think that anytime you go in nature, like I'm more of a beach person, like lie there, beach person. But I feel like it doesn't matter if you're, on a mountain or going for a hike or on a beach or whatever. When you're outside, you really are connecting to something so much bigger than you.
Yes.
And so
Most definitely.
I can really see how that can help. So let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Your divorce story is interesting.
Isn't it?
Well, I tried to Google this morning how many people this affects, but why don't you tell us about it and we'll go from there.
Well, so my story is definitely, I don't know exactly everything that you read, or looked into, researched, but my story through my divorce was a very unusual one, to say the least. It will be 6 years this Thanksgiving Eve that I found out that my husband had been having an affair with men for 14 of our 17 years of marriage. He had literally been leading a double life. And over the course of 5 days, I found out that there was, multiple addictions, from drugs, alcohol, sex addiction. My entire life imploded. It was the most traumatic situation I had ever lived through. And I had already lived through sexual assault when I was 17. And by far, the PTSD that ran through me and just everything that happened was mind blowing. I mean, it was like an earthquake that never
Mhm.
stopped shaking. It was unreal. It was unreal.
Well, I'm
And
so
here I am, happier than
wow.
ever.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sorry you went
yeah,
through that. I mean, that
thank
just
you.
sounds ridiculously traumatic. Everything you thought was true was not true.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine the kind of emotional damage that does to somebody because it has to, right? You've
Yeah,
spent.
and I have three boys as well, and so the emotional damage for me as a mom, I'm an absolute mama bear, and so for me it was, yeah, you think about yourself and you think
Mhm.
about all of the lies and the deceit, but more so than anything, you think about, for me, it was my children,
Mhm.
and how do you recover from something like this? And
Mhm.
that's when I literally went to the trails and the ocean and went out into nature to find something exactly like you said. You nailed it. Something so much bigger than myself that could also allow me to work through this process.
So where did you start? I mean, I can't even imagine. I talk to a lot of people who have been cheated on. You know, infidelity is a really massive issue in a lot of marriages. I can't believe I've ever talked to, well, I've talked to a couple of people, but not as dramatic as your situation. So how does it play into not only is somebody cheating on you, but there are actually also a different sexual orientation than you even thought?
Well, you know, the different orientation was, for me, I think of it almost like it's a whole separate thing, right? Like for me, it was the betrayal, the deceit, all of the values that I held true to this marriage being stepped on. You know, I had people that said to me, well, at least it wasn't with women. I mean, I've heard it all. But
what I said to you earlier, I'm sure that's what people want to know. People kind of want to know, is it different? Is it the same? I mean, just because we're curious beings.
Listen, I'm right there with you. You know, is it different or is it the same? For me, I looked at it like it was definitely different. It was different because you're talking about, for me, it was 14 years of a double life. And so the deceit was not just normal deceit. Deceit is deceit. However, when we're talking about something that's that underground, and literally like with people that could potentially hurt me or my children, or what else could be brought into the picture in terms of my own safety and the safety of my kids. Yeah, it's very different because I didn't even know that there were drugs involved, and I had no idea that there was any of that going on. So the layers of betrayal it wasn't just the affair. It was a layer of betrayal, layer of betrayal, layer of betrayal, layer of betrayal. The hardest part for me, though, and to this day that I work on daily, is the betrayal of himself, and how, as his best friend, he didn't feel like throughout that time in our life together, because we really did have a great relationship, and we still do. We have an amicable relationship. But for me, it was the betrayal and not being able to understand how your best friend in life can't come to you and say, look, I love you as a best friend. I'm not in love with you as a partner in terms of sexual orientation. So for me, that's very different, right? That's like, that right there and alone in itself is so different. So
yeah, no, like I said, I can only imagine. And so how do you even, you know, like pick yourself up after that and carry on? You said you started to go out to nature. Had you been very like outdoorsy and hiking before this, or is this like a new thing that you found?
No, I had definitely been a nature nut throughout my life. Not to this degree. I found a whole different level of connection with nature through this transformation in my life. I literally call it like my own personal inner transformation. You know, I was that person that would love to go to the Grand Canyon and hike, or I would go to Yosemite many times and hike. I took my kids on a 6-week road trip and hiked all over national parks. But for me, what this did is it allowed going through this process allowed my heart and my soul and my spirit to open up to something so much more connected than just being in nature for a hike. It allowed me to actually give my own somatic healing and give my anger and my resentment and my sadness and my pain to Mother Earth, and allow my own joy and freedom and connection to my own self to come in. And that's where the healing took place. And so I truly find I have come to this place in my life where going through all of this, truthfully, has made me such a more joyful, happy woman, that I'm blessed and honored, to be honest with you, that I've gone through this. As strange as that sounds, because it was really hard, but on the flip side of it, I'm glad that I have experienced what I've experienced to be able to come through this side.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's, you know, nothing like my story, but similar in my story, as in you take that pain. I think women do this especially. You take all that pain, you deal with it. And then when you really get to a place where you go, wow, I've like conquered this and I've come out a better person, our natural instincts is to go, hey, who else can we help do that?
Right. Exactly. And that's why I started doing this work, because, you know, I realized through this, through me actually going through the same process, along with so many other people that I know that are in this process, I was like, no, why am I being able to go through this at a different pace or at a different rate than others? And so much of it was because I felt and found this deeper connection. And so being able to guide others through this is just like, it just also deepens my own learning and growth. It's awesome.
So how long did it take you? And before you answer that, and for our listeners, everyone's journey is different. There's no good, better, or best, or whatever. But
it's never linear.
Yeah. Curious, like how long did this transformation take you?
So let me back up really quick, if you don't mind. When I was 17, I was raped by somebody that I knew, and tried to press charges, and the police they wouldn't press charges. So my going through that trauma at 17, I want people to understand this because it's really important. I learned so much from that first one. Had I have not, I would not have gone through the second transformation, through the second healing. I do not believe as quickly as I did, because I took everything that I learned from the first one and did it through the second one. So the second one, it took me probably about 1.5 years, 2 years to really from the day I found out to actually feeling like I was back in control of my life and really understood the depth and magnitude and the learning and the growth. That is unusual. And I realize that. And that's also why I'm also same as you. Like, I don't want people to think that, oh, I'm in year 10. Why is this still so painful? Everybody's journey is different, and it's not linear. And had I not gone through what I did at 17, I don't believe that I would have gone through this as quickly as I did.
Well, and I think you absolutely correct. To the people, you know, Dreamsrecycled, obviously I talk to a lot of divorcees, and oddly, the people who have lived the perfect life with no trauma or little trauma or whatever, they actually tend to do the worst, because it's the first kind of bash to their life is perfect, right?
Right.
When something goes wrong. And so unfortunately, you know, survivors of sexual assault like you, or people who any kind of trauma or loss or kind of PSD from any situation you've been in, does actually stand you well moving forward, because like you said, you actually kind of have that kind of like, hang on a minute, I survived this and I can probably therefore survive this. Yeah. Whereas people who are going through it for the first time, they're unsure if they're ever going to recover or go back to normal or be happy again or love again or trust again, right?
Right. I think that's also a testament to why it's so important when things happen to you to really be able to dig deep and to have those inner conversations and to not just brush it under the rug. Because had I have done that at 17, I mean, can you imagine the PTSD that would have come back from when I was 17, and how just the magnitude of it would have been so much bigger. And so thankfully I had an incredible support system at 17 to be able to work through that, so that it actually gave me the leverage to move through the second one instead of causing the second one to be that much larger in size. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You figured out how to handle the first one correctly, or better, should we say.
Yeah.
And so for this one, you already had kind of a little bit of a head start, but I'm sorry I went through both of those things, but
thank you.
So moving forward,
so
what do you do now? So you take other people. So I read this incredible story about you climbing somewhere.
Which one?
Well, tell us. So how does this
I climb a lot of stuff.
But so how does this work, right? If you're a client of yours, or you want to, you know, kind of heal through nature and wilderness, like how do you even go about that? You sign up for it, you get on a mountain, like how does it all work?
Well, so when I developed these retreats, I thought about everything that I needed that I didn't have before or during my own transformation. So the things that I had defined in order to go through my own healing and growth, I took all of that and created these retreats for women and men. In fact, I have one I'm leaving at the 18th. I'm leaving in a couple weeks, actually, for a male-female one. And we do everything on these retreats from, it's just a real big deep dive. I typically take clients into the Grand Canyon because metaphorically it works. I believe so deeply in going deep within yourself and cleaning out all of that stuff, right? And then allowing the joy and the happiness and everything else to come in. That's why the Grand Canyon works, right? And it's the only place that you can actually like walk into the earth as you're also diving deep into who you are. So it's just, and it's fun. Like on top of it, the beauty of the 7 wonders of the world, it's insane. It's
it's beautiful.
Obviously I'm a nature nut, so there you go. But so I have these groups that are around 11 people with 2 guides, and I bring in a meditation and or a breathwork instructor, and we do everything. It's normally it's around a 6-week coaching journey. So we do individual and group coaching sessions, and then we have a 5-day retreat in the Grand Canyon itself. And
is that like the final kind of piece of the coaching?
So no, I always do follow-up. And the reason that I always do follow-up coaching is because you go through such an experience where you are releasing so much, and you just literally go through such your own transformation that you can't just be like, okay, goodbye. You have to have more coaching post that in order to use everything that you learned, and to also understand and use that in the real world. Like here's the thing. I don't call this the real world. I call this the created world. The real world to me is nature, but to take it into your daily life. So we do that. I'm also doing a divorce coaching retreat as well. That's a 3-month coaching journey. I'm doing that with another coach. And we're having a 4-day adventure retreat where we're doing canyoneering and hiking and meditation and breath work out of Mount Baldy here in California. So I run different retreats. Yeah, there's so much fun. It's just like but I think that's the big piece to all of this too, is that your healing journey it does not have to be hard. It can be fun. And you can bring in the excitement of it all, because that's what living is, right? Like living should be exciting.
So how do you seem like you would be an expert on this subject from what you've been through with your ex, and to say that they are now a friend of yours and you have an amicable divorce is huge, right? Even in kind of decent, kind of non-dramatic divorce, it's very hard to kind of build that relationship again. So how do you get to that place? How do you forgive your ex? Because I'm sure that's what everyone is wondering, how you did that.
So, there's forgiveness is absolute key. Like forgiveness is absolute key. I'm doing actually a talk on this. So we'll put the link up actually at some point when I can't announce it yet, but I'm doing an actual talk on this subject and how I went through this. And for me, it was really looking at every single person that has betrayed me and handing back the emotions, the things that they had handed to me to hold on to, and literally handing them back and saying, you know what, this is not mine to hold on to. I am handing this back to you. And because the betrayal was so deep from so many different people. And so I literally went one by one and had the difficult conversations, which for me it was so freeing, and saying, I don't want to hold on to this. The fact that you did this to me, the betrayal that you handed to me, the negativity, the toxicity, the sadness, the anger, the pain, I don't want to hold on to it, because we carry stuff around with us that we don't need to carry around with us.
Well, it's not ours to carry.
It's not ours to carry, right? Exactly. They're handing it to you. And so I went through the process of, letting it go and releasing it. And then literally, and I kid you not, handing it back and saying, here, this is yours. I drove 6 hours north to do this with somebody, which was this one of the most betraying, the other big betrayals in this entire situation. It was a friend of mine that my husband had an affair with. And so I drove 6 hours, didn't tell him I was showing up, went to his doorstep and said, here's the situation. I'm not holding on to this anymore. I am allowing myself to live in freedom, and it's yours to carry, not mine. Here you go. And I literally like went, bam, that's yours. Talk about shock on their end. Which I was like, you know, I mean, I walked away from every single one of those situations so much lighter.
Yeah, 10,000 pounds lighter, I'm sure.
10,000 pounds lighter, because I'm like, I don't need this in my life. I don't need this in my life. And not only that, but my kids don't need to see me carrying something that's not mine. Yeah. It's a really good modeling behavior for them as well.
No, absolutely. I say it time and time again on Dreamsrecycled in my articles that, you know, forgiveness is nothing about them.
No.
It's all about freeing ourselves, right? We don't even have to necessarily forget or really actually forgive, but we have to forgive enough to free ourselves.
Yes.
So that we can move on and do what we need to do.
You know, and it's interesting because I think as in society, we have this term forgive and forget, and there is no reason that you have to forget. It's about accepting, right? But it's also about allowing yourself to give all of that back in order to receive what you need to from the situation, which is the learning, the growth, the healing, all of that stuff, which also then brings in joy and freedom and living and just experiencing. So.
Well, how did you trust? So, and I'm not saying this like in any way blaming. It's just, you know, interesting, I think, because people will have been through a lot of, you know, betrayal and infidelity and cheating or whatever. So one of the things that they constantly say is one of their biggest problems moving forward is they beat themselves up because they didn't see the red flags along the way. And so now when they starting to date other people, they're constantly second guessing themselves. They're worried that there's going to be another one, that if they like them, there must be something wrong with them. And so how do you do that? Firstly, did you see any red flags that after the fact you went, oh, or was it like literally no clue?
So the red flags that I saw, yes, now looking back, but here's what's interesting is that the red flags that I was also getting were intuitive hits from myself as a woman. I almost call them like bricks from above that were like here's another one, Sarah, you know, landing on my head and going, okay, that didn't seem right. But that was more about his sexuality. So, and when we first started dating, no, I never would have known. As the years went on, that's when I would start to get the red flags. However, some of the values that I have so deeply within myself is trust, loyalty, communication, honesty, you know, all of those. And so when I would go and have the conversation with him and he would straight up look me in the eye and say, no, are you kidding me? The manipulation and the gaslighting was so deep and big. And so, of course I was going to believe him. He's my husband, right? And so I had to get to that place of forgiveness and understanding of myself, and also responsibility, quite frankly, for seeing the red flags, and also, exactly as you said, still believing him, right? And so the trust factor with me right now in dating and going through that process, I've taken it very slow. Quite frankly, I've taken it very, very slow. I am not somebody that will just jump in. And I also, if I see a red flag, I listen to my intuitive woman hit. And I say, okay, I don't right away brush it off. I don't right away like brush him off, I should say. I have the conversation. If it doesn't feel right, it's not for me. It's just not for me.
Well, but that's okay, right? I think
that's okay. Exactly.
You know, like second marriages, you know, anyone dating over 35, really, I guess, or there shouldn't be an age to it. But I think it's okay to make people earn your trust, right? Yeah. Expect them to earn your trust and you to earn theirs. And it's okay that it's not instantly like we're all, you know, because most people by now have been through something.
Right.
Some kind of betrayal, some kind of lack of judgment on our behalf or their behalf or something.
Right.
And so I think it's okay to enter into, the dating pool, which is scary as it is, and have that kind of like, I'm going to choose to believe you a little bit at a time. I don't have to just, blanket trust everyone I meet along the way, because it's not a healthy way to be, really.
No. And, I think that in a lot of my clients and a lot of people that I talk to, women as well, and in my first, few years, about the first year of going through this, my self-worth was like flattened, even though I've always loved me, that my self-worth as a partner was like, whoa, how could you do this to another human being and your kids and your wife and the mother of your children? So it was about building all of my own self-worth back up as well, finding the support, I had an amazing coach and therapist and support group. And quite frankly, I work on this daily as well myself. I mean, every single day. Every single day I work on it. I work on myself every single day. This is not just a one and done.
Well, because the stronger you are and the higher your self-esteem, the less likely, I believe, moving on, we are as men, women, divorcees, etc. We're less likely to fall for the wrong kind of attention.
Yes.
Because what I see constantly is, people who just feel bad about themselves, they're basically like wounded birds to every vulture that's out there, kind of sees that in them and then comes along to tell them they're wonderful and takes advantage of them. And then often they're the narcissists, psychopaths, gaslighters, etc. And so it's just really important. And I tell everyone, after you divorce, you shouldn't be looking for a husband and wife number 2. You should be looking for you number 1, right? And then eventually, once you really know that you have a solid foundation of, self-love, self-care, and self-esteem, then you can allow yourself, because you're going to make better choices when you're doing it from a place of kind of empowerment instead of desperation.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was with my family for 10 days just recently, my entire family, celebrating my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. And I'm the only divorced one. I mean, I never in a million years would have thought I'd be divorced. But it was interesting because my niece, who I'm very, very close with, actually said to me, "I'm so surprised you haven't found someone yet." And I looked at her, we were actually hiking, and I looked at her and I said, "Oh, I have found me." And that is the greatest relationship that any human being can be in, is with yourself.
Well, it's the only one that lasts forever, right?
Of course.
People come and go, whether it's divorce, sickness, illness, a million other reasons.
And it's understand, like, I have found people. I've found a lot of great people in my life. I've dated a lot of wonderful men. It's just, at this point, I haven't found that one, and I don't know what it's going to look like in the future. And that's okay. I don't need to know. I'm happy right now. So,
Well, and I think that's the best place you can be, right? That's the best place. If you wake up every day and you feel energized and productive and empowered by who you are and what you're doing with your life, then being single is fabulous also. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Fulfillment from self is so much greater. I don't than my old relationship. And this is the difference between my divorce, my marriage, and where I'm at right now. My husband, when I was married, he did fulfill a large piece of me. And now I've completely learned how to fulfill myself, which is so different of a place to be than I ever thought I would be. And it's just amazing though. Like it's, I can't even explain it. It's like standing on top of that peak and looking out and going, damn, like I'm on a 14er and I'm looking out and seeing the world for what it is. Clear skies, amazing. So, yeah.
No, I'm all for that. Well, Sarah, you've been lovely, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know obviously you've been through a lot and it's a difficult thing to talk about, but you do it very well. So thank you.
Thank you.
And so where can people find you and find information about your coaching and your wilderness guide?
So you can find me, my website is liveboldlycoaching.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Sara Schulting-Kranz, Facebook, Sara Schulting-Kranz. And I'm also, the documentary is walkthroughthis.com. And so you can actually follow along on that as well. We're filming in the Grand Canyon this November. How we got, Universe put it together for us to get reservations and permits to film over Thanksgiving, exactly 6 years to the day that everything had come to light. And so I'm really excited about that. So follow along on that, because there's some really cool stuff coming up on that documentary.
No, that all sounds fabulous. Oh, plus a little birdie told me that you're soon to be author also.
Yeah. My book proposal is being pitched right now to different publishers. And so I'm super excited about that. I am Claudia Cross from Folio Literary Management. She is my agent, my lit agency. And so I'm super excited about that. Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, you have a lot going on, and that's all fabulous. And so thank you. I'm sure your story is very inspiring to many people and many of our listeners. So thank you. And if you missed any of Sara's links, they'll be in the posts beneath the YouTube or iTunes or whatever you're listening or watching this on. So thank you, Sara. And
Thank you. You're so amazing. Thank you.